First there's a major earthquake, then a massive landslide, 100-mile-an-hour winds, giant waves washing up, flooding, and it all takes place in total darkness. Hi, I'm Phil Constantine. On this episode of Travels with Phil, we're going to Earthquake Lake, which is just west of Yellowstone National Park. This all happened just before midnight on August 17, 1959, when a 7.3 earthquake struck the area. There were at least 18,000 people in Yellowstone, and there were lots of other people outside the park camping along the Madison River. The earthquake was the largest one on record in the Intermountain area of America. The quake triggered a massive landslide from the Sheep Mountain, which rushed down the mountain at 100 miles per hour, completely blocked the Madison River. This blockage created Earthquake Lake, also known as Quake Lake. I'm on 287, just inside Montana, just off of Wyoming and Idaho, up toward the northwestern corner of Yellowstone, but I'm not in Yellowstone. This is Quake Lake, and what happened was similar to Slide Lake over by Grand Tetons. In 1959 August, there was a big earthquake, and that big earthquake was right there. The entire side of the mountains fell down, came up on the other side. In fact, this is part of the debris that you see here is part of the debris that came down, and also some of it came down from that far side, the north side as well. Completely blocked off the Madison River here. Eventually the Madison carved its way through there. These are swallows, I believe. And the lake's backed up for a ways around the river. This is the Madison River. It's the one that goes through the western part of Yellowstone. In fact, right there at Madison Junction, that's what it's named after, the Madison River. Look at all the birds. They're just flying all over the place here. A lot of people fish further down the stream. Once it comes out of the mountains, about another mile or so down the road, you're out of the mountains and back into a valley, or at least a canyon type setting. Well, that's what happens when you have steep hillsides over fault zones. This was block faulting. Active regions. Travels with Phil. Back to you. In some areas, the 7.3 quake caused the land to drop down 20 feet. This is an after view of the same spot. It sent huge waves through nearby Hebgen Lake, flooding or destroying cabins. When the quake struck, 300 people were camped in the Madison River Canyon. You can see some of the old photos here from the USGS. The quake and landslide happened just before midnight when most people were asleep. And the landslide came down at about 100 miles per hour. You can see a vehicle to get an idea how big these large boulders were that destroyed almost everything in their path. While most of the campers survived, unfortunately 28 did not.
I'm John Owen. As a kid, I grew up in Riverside, California. My family had a tradition of coming to the Madison River every summer. The tradition started with my dad in 1932. Big tradition, and on August 17th, 1959, asleep in our beds, I woke up on the floor. The house was shaking. There was an enormous roar sound immediately thereafter, which obviously was a slide. Looking out the door, a huge cloud of dust from the same source. Had no idea what it was. I opened the door to get into the cabin. The cabin was in shambles. The owner of the place we stayed, Halford's Resort, by the way, the reason we went there was a fishing, obviously, on the Madison River. The owner of the place, Halford's Camp, was Hank Powers. He told us to get to high ground, which we did, which is now Refuge Point. We were at Refuge Point for about 24 hours until a road was carved for us around the north side of Hebgen Lake. We were lucky. We only lost our cabin, favorite spot for 30, 40 years. Very fortunate compared to those who lost lives in cabins at the landslide. As it is now, the cabin site we were at is now on the bottom of Quake Lake, just above Beaver Creek. The cabin itself is in shambles and can be seen on the far side of the river at Ghost Village.
Rock Creek Campground had 50 campers that night. it was completely buried. You can see the slide going up the opposite side of the canyon here. The winds caused by the slide were also at 100 miles an hour, which literally blew one man away. See the damage here caused to a vehicle. Aerial surveys the next day showed the extent of the damage. And you could see that the Madison River was just starting to back up, but it didn't take long for it to get really backed up. The slide blocked the entire river. So quickly equipment was brought in to dig a spillway to reduce the level of the lake. This had a potential to be quite dangerous. You can see the spillway starting to be worked through the middle there. It was important to relieve the pressure to avoid a sudden collapse and a flood downstream. Lots of equipment was out there, drag lines working. And this is the spillway you saw in my video earlier. Let's take a look at the visitor center, which sits in the slide area. You can see it here. It's going to be circled in red. That's it. So this is looking at the slide area and Earthquake Lake in the distance. The Earthquake Lake Visitor Center tells you about the history and the geology of the area. Has some very good displays in there. And if you take the trail up to the Memorial Rock, you can get a great view of the slide area, the spillway, and the lake in the distance. Memorial Rock is in the same spot where it came to rest after the slide. That's it right there. And Memorial Rock honors the people who died in this slide. It shows all of their names on this plaque. Earthquake Lake shows how powerful the forces of nature can be. And nature can be both powerful and beautiful. Well, Earthquake Lake is a good example of both. Special thanks to the U.S. Departments of Agriculture, Forestry Service, and Geological Survey. Check out the section below. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please feel free to make comments below as long as the language is family friendly. And if you like this video, please click on the thumbs up button below. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the circle with my picture in it in the lower right-hand corner of the video. The arrow is pointing at it now. And once you have subscribed, you can be notified of when I have a new video posted by clicking on the bell icon in the description field below the video. Thanks again for watching.